Pregame.com.
Well, I know Phil's got Oregon to win the Pac-12, but I still think UCLA is a great dark horse.
Absolutely.
Don't you think?
And USC, you know, they've got a little bit more depth this year. Nice amount of returning starters.
They always underachieve. Come on.
Oh, hey.
They're up. Welcome back. Pregame.tv caught us with their pants down here. Brady Kannon, Steve Fezzik. It's here. Phil Steele, College Football Annual. This is the Bible. Got to get it. We all get it each and every year. We're just starting our studying, and time to make a great announcement here. Phil Steele is joining Pregame.com. We are so excited to have Phil in the house. Hopefully we'll have him in studio one day. He will be providing exceptional content, most of it free to Pregame going forward. So we are just beyond excited about that. Brady, what do you think?
I think it's fantastic. I saw the announcement in the Pregame forums the other day, and that was a name that just jumped off the page to me. I was like, wow. You know, I mean, obviously we've had a couple of guys leave us in recent weeks and months, whatnot. But then that one, as an addition, I was like, heck of a move.
It's like an NBA team. We're like pregame, we got a salary cap. We're trying to not go too far over the luxury
tax. He was our LeBron, right? We just brought in the big free agent.
And, you know, what can we do? So we wish, you know, so Chandler Parsons leaves, and he's probably going to kick ass, but we bring in LeBron, and we'll take our chances, right?
Absolutely. No, I think it's outstanding, and I'm looking forward to, you know, kind of rubbing elbows with him and getting some college football information as well. I've always bought his magazine in the past, but it'll be nice to have him here, you know, as a part of the crew and be able to learn from what he's talking about in the forums and on his page and everything.
A couple things I always liked in his write-ups is that everyone shows the returning starters, and obviously that's critical.
Sure.
But I love going to his experience charts in his annual, where he shows you basically percentage of upperclassmen returning, and you really get a good feel for overall depth. You can look at the stars and the quarterbacks, but you can look at, hey, which team has the most back, which team doesn't. And I like the idea of which team's gotten lucky, which team has gotten unlucky. And close wins, close losses. If a team wins a bunch of close games, hey, it's due to regress to the mean.
And some trends thrown in there as well. I always like his angles there. Very thorough. I mean, you look at this book, it is fine print, you know.
I got to definitely break out my good glasses too. I can't be wearing my Oakley sunglasses, which look cool, but the prescription's out of date, and I can't.
I mean, there's more information on these 2 pages than in most publications have in 5 pages.
Yes, the only thing there's 2 things I will say as far as how I personally utilize this is that this is the Bible, and it's what I'm always studying. But I got to go ahead as I go off camera. I always have my Mark Lawrence, who's not a pregame, but he's a great guy. Mark Lawrence see, this is my cheat sheet. This has like lots of great information. What I like is it's college and pro. So if I ever have to look up who a team's playing, how they did the prior year, I go here for the quick facts.
Right.
I go here for the heavy duty lifting.
Yep.
And one thing that I really like also is that maybe he presents all this stuff, and you might agree with 95% of it, and then there might be 5% everyone's reading and you don't agree. Like, one thing that I've noticed with this is he always talks about how many yards do you gain and how many points do you turn that into.
Sure.
Get a lot of yards, don't get many points.
Well, that's a great handicapping tool that you know, your average college football fan doesn't utilize, I'm sure, and he, you know, spells it out there for you, and that's really handy when you're trying to handicap a game.
Right. The one problem I have with that analysis is that the really crappy teams, the Tulanes, you know, the Akrons, you know, they're always going to look better statistically because they suck. Of course they can't punch the ball into the end zone. Of course they throw pick sixes. So you're going to look, the score is always going to be worse than what it should be. And the really good coaches, I go to the NFL, Belichick, like every year, New England's the same. They gain 5.2 yards per play. They give up 5.1. And you're like, this is a team that's barely above 500, but they make all the right decisions. And it's just not reflected in the stats. So you got to be a little bit careful.
Sure. I mean, you know, we say this about all sports. You've got to have a good filter, especially in football season. There's so much information coming at you, publications, radio shows, pregame.com, whatever it is. You've got to have a good filter and decide what are you going to factor as very important in your handicap, and what are you going to just throw to the wayside?
What I love is his schedule analysis. Nothing better, where he shows not only who has the toughest schedule, but who has the toughest relative schedule. Who's going up, who's going down, based upon not so much how hard their schedule is this year, how hard is it versus last year with what they played.
Well, you take a guy like this who obviously studies it day in and day out. I wonder how many weeks off a year he takes as far as college football. But they talk about the committee, that is going to select these playoff teams. Shouldn't a guy like this be on that committee?
Oh, he should be the committee.
Yeah.
One thing I got to say, though, like that I think Vegas, there's a big debate about this in terms of rankings, and I know that a lot of the handicappers get very confident in their abilities, and they say, "Oh, these odds, these polls are completely wrong." Well, the poll is not a power rating. The poll is not supposed to tell you who the 4 best teams are, the 10 best teams. That's just who's done the best year to date. So, I mean, everyone knows if Alabama loses and they get dropped to like number 9 in the polls, we know they're better than that. Just like if we know by some miracle Iowa opens 9-0, 1 year South Florida was number 2 in the country. It's okay to rank them number 2. No one really believes it, but you got to put them there if they're undefeated.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And I don't know. I mean, that's why I like the Vegas rankings better, I think, because it's a truer picture, I think, of actual quality of the team.
Yes.
If Alabama loses, certainly Vegas is going to drop them, but they're probably not going to drop them as far as your national polls.
So what I like in terms of we got a Final Four this year, who do we pick for the Final Four? I'm a big believer of, hey, if it's really close in terms of merit, go to the power ratings. You don't go to the power ratings to determine the Final Four, but if you got 2 teams that are like this, you could make cases either way. We'll take the team that has the higher power rating. Use it as the tiebreaker.
Yeah. I go with that, or go to Vegas to ask them who their tiebreaker is.
Who would be favored?
Yeah, there you go.
Who would be favored is the great tiebreaker.
Exactly. Great call right there.
But it's fine to take a team that would be a 4-point dog.
And then they're going to come back and say, oh, it's a pick 'em.
Yeah, like in Notre Dame. They deserved to be in the title game against Alabama. They weren't even a top 5 team. But, they deserved to be there based upon the quality of work and being undefeated. You had to, and it helps the refs cheated and let them win against Pittsburgh and all these other teams. They get smashed in the bowl games. I still don't understand the money that came in on the Irish in that title game right before post.
Oh, the line got so big.
And then it came back, you know. So that was crazy. But I tell you, that we could spend, and we probably will, going into some of these different graphs and the like, with so much information and the experience charts, the close wins, the close losses, who's going up, who's going down, who's undervalued, overvalued. It's going to be an exciting summer.
Well, I think he's also going to be on the radio quite a bit here locally on the ESPN 1100 first preview show that we have with RJ and Scott Spreitzer and Ken Thompson. I think Phil's going to be a regular on there about once a week as well.
I'm looking forward to it. So it's going to be a sweltering summer filled with football talk. Phil Steele, the best in the business, college football. We are so excited, Phil, to have you aboard here at Pregame. Welcome, and can't wait to talk to you in person and to listen to you, talking to RJ and all the content you'll have over at pregame.com. Brady, any college football thoughts to leave the listeners? I know it's awfully early. You've been working on golf.
I have, and I'm sorry. I've been paying a little bit of attention to the Pac-12. I just basically try and focus on that conference. You have taught me specialize, and so that's what I try to do. So I've, looked at that on the surface, but again, I've been into the U.S. Open last month and now diving into the British Open here and doing a lot of baseball day in and day out too. And next step is football. So.
Well, 11-3 in the U.S. Open. We wish you the same success in football. Nice. I'm going to go ahead and get my producer mad at me. I'm going to give out a free pick, even though I didn't tell him I was going to give one, so we're not going to have any intro. Northwestern Wildcats, my alma mater, is 7.5 wins over, is favored at the formerly LVH, now Westgate, who has taken them over, is going to expand that sports book and make it into an even better sports book. I'm going to go under the 7.5 plus money, Northwestern. This is the art, not the science of things. I think all this talk about unionizing isn't such a good idea for Northwestern, with the players and the coaches maybe being on opposite sides of that. And bottom line is, as a guy who follows Northwestern football, if we went 7-5, I would be thrilled about what a great year we had and get to go to the Crapola Bowl and get the living daylights kicked out of us like we do every year, except for the one time we got to beat up on Ole Miss, who's actually going to be very good this year. But Northwestern, under 7.5 wins, is my free play. But Phil Steele, that's the big deal.
We'll see if he agrees with you.
We will ask Phil. It would have been a good idea if I would have asked him first. But good luck to everyone with your wagers. Welcome, Phil Steele. We will be back each and every week breaking down football and all other sports. Thanks for joining us.
Cool.